신문을 좀 읽겠습니다. Skiing data enough to delist Korea Incorporated. If data manipulation repeats, Korea could end up like Greece. Mother-in-law's smoking habit caused family squabble. My husband thinks we should just tolerate it while she's here. Take a deep breath and do what's necessary. 6 in 10 seniors find the income insufficient. Korea ranks top of OECD for elderly employment. The rate was above the OECD average of 15% and the highest among the 36 OECD member countries. As the U.S. schools adopt 4-day weeks, challenge for parents is day 5. That is especially concerning for parents of younger kids and those whose disabilities can make finding child care an extra challenge. Hierarchical incompetence. However, he never admits this fact or relinquish the position voluntarily. Writers deserve more for contribution to AI success. At least 2 groups of authors, including Mona Award and Paul, and comedian Sarah, have filed copyright infringement lawsuit against OpenAI. Mean mom need help. I'm going out to help her, but am scared because I know her behavior and attitudes are terrible. By decluttering your life, you will clear your head and find something meaningful to pursue. Europe is leading the way on regulating social media. The new requirement for access to data will allow independent research into the impact of social media products on public health and welfare. At 63, regret pushed her to greatness. Why didn't even stop wanting to win? She explained, I've always wanted to be number 1, she told me. That's what's gotten me out of the door on rainy and windy days. U.S. inflation solution could be the world's problems. A beginner's guide to bouldering. Indoor rock climbing gyms are popular for the intense workout and social scenes. The climbing community love to see first-time climbers and love for first-time climbers to ask a question. Gut healing captivate TikTok but draws critics. Influencers offer hacks, but there's no shortcut to better digestive health. If somebody is claiming to have something that will immediately turn gut health around, you should be skeptical of that. Getting ready for seasonal allergies. Periods of intense pollen are starting earlier and lasting longer, experts say. For people with disabilities, one size doesn't fit all. The U.S. federal funding should not automatically favor smaller settings over larger ones for those like my daughter. A witch hunt for the vulnerable. Increasingly, this is what it's like to live in a red state, and not just for transgender people. Wildfire smoke is damaging children's lungs. The effects of fossil fuel pollution put nearly every child at risk. Half the police quit, but crime dropped. A charming town just outside of Minneapolis has a powerful tale to tell. In a staggering report last month, the U.S. Department of Justice documented pervasive abuse, illegal use of force, racial bias, and systemic dysfunction in the Minneapolis Department. City police officers engaged in brutality or made racist comments, even as a department investigator rode along in a patrol car. Times are changing, U.S. cities aren't. Conversion of buildings is increasingly difficult, but residents need a shift. Cities have accumulated more prohibition, more prescription, more appendix tables, more hitches. I have a name for the buildup of that stop, said the P, a New York-based developer. I call it the clutch. Having a father isn't always easy. Learning to accept long sought after praise from my dad. When my 11-year-old effused over to kill a mockingbird, my father told him, "It's no, Huckleberry Finn." Effused. So why did so many invest? Because Apple ammo is a hell of a drug. Because when prices are shooting up and you feel the fear of missing out, you can talk yourself into imagining intrinsic value in anything. A mechanical wristwatch is a marvel of miniature engineering, almost a piece of art in its intricate complexity. navigating the markets during a recession. Until inflation comes down, the Fed says it will keep raising rate. That will slow the economy. Are we more addicted to shopping than we think? The first step to recovery is admitting that we have a problem. The cost of going cashless around the world. What's good for credit card companies isn't always good for customers. Turning to TikTok for mental health help. Teenagers and other users self-diagnose, but there are several downsides. Adolescents may be making faulty self-diagnoses and treatment plans in the absence of professional insight. Are you upgrading your phone too early? If you keep it for a long time, people might find you a bit strange. The best of the extracurricular may be an after-school job. Personally, I learned more working outside the school than I did in the classroom. You learn what it's like to make the minimum wage. That meant $3.35 an hour in my case. Boys and men are in crisis because the society is. The new book has the right diagnosis, but its solutions are too small. When robbing your own bank account is the only option. To live here is to learn every day how to do more with less. Rebuilding their supply chains. Wary of snares in China, U.S. small businesses shift to domestic production. You have to have a don't say no attitude to get you through this USA manufacturing hurdle. Natural disaster affect children in the utero. What can parents do? Don't freak out. Go push for change. Utero. Who runs the world ends. Earth is overflowing with these insects, but there are no manners. Humans could learn a lot from them. Ants have been around for 140 million years. Young workers shouldn't stay remote forever. Don't return to the office for your boss. Go back for yourself. Workers in 17 countries said that if called to the workplace full time, they might look for another job. Go back for yourself. Electricity for closer to home, gas for instance. With the pump prices high, plug-in hybrid receive a new burst of attention. I think some automakers, including GM, have been far too quick to cast PHEVs aside in the face of all-electric vehicles. How this economic movement rewrite the rules. There are plenty of jobs and demand is sizzling, but the boom feels shaky. It's not an economic boom in the sense of wanting to invest long term. It's a boomtown situation where everyone's just waiting for it to get cut up. Sizzling. CEO didn't believe in Disney magic. Bob didn't understand that the company's devoted fans are crucial to its success. Too little forgiveness. A society that has lost the ability to forgive risks being crushed by bitterness. Alone doesn't always mean lonely. We are spending more time apart. Maybe it's because we are exhausted. My age group, elder millennials, has less leisure time than 35 to 44-year-olds did 2 decades ago. Right, Justin? At the Bloomberg, he analyzed historical data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and found that Americans aged 35 to 44 have lost 16 minutes of leisure time a day since 2003, which may not seem like a lot until you realize that add up to almost 100 years a year. Free to be you and the me. 50 years later, we may be forgetting the lessons of a children's classic. As for that land where the children run free, there is little running around now. U.S. job training program may show others the way. Innovators find a solution to lift low-income workers into middle-class position. Making it work at scale is very difficult. Slowing climate change stopped at home. The public must make the transition from green consumers to green citizens. But the law, even assuming it survived Republican attacks and the defunding attempts over the coming years, does not fully redeem Mr. Biden's pledge. Defunding. What's the story with Colin's romance novel? Her wildly popular books offer fantasy that feels attainable self-actualization. The U.S. Supreme Court enshrined racial imbalance. Both versions of the arguments are suspect. AI will change medicine, but not what it means to be a doctor. To date, we have not integrated generative AI into our work in the intensive care unit. The The midlife crisis is real and not to be laughed at. In popular culture, the midlife crisis is fodder for comedy, personified by the 40 something guy who suddenly hankers to skydive or buy a convertible. In scientific circles, the midlife crisis is sometimes said not to exist at all. Epidemiological study of psychological distress in adulthood does not suggest that midlife is a time out of the ordinary distress, said an article in 2000 in the journal Motivation and the Emotion. Father. Keep the trains and the buses running. The coronavirus pandemic is jeopardizing the long-term health of the public transit system that provide a crucial circulatory system for major American cities, particularly for lower-income residents who depend on train and buses to get to work, the market, or the doctor. How to take a work during a pandemic. I have a pulse oximeter. I have an oxygen tank. It will be relaxing. I'm going for a walk. It's a brisk morning. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful winter day. America has a GPS problem. The system is essential but also vulnerable. The U.S. need backup. When political correctness was a joke. 30 years later, on Amazon, a customer gave the book a awarded 1-star review noting, "You'll get in more trouble using this book than you were before." California, the snow is melting and is beautiful. The benefits of this once-in-a-lifetime winter are everywhere. It's a breath of fresh air after seemingly endless bad news about water, climate, and natural disasters in the West. Want to celebrate. The ocean is looking more menacing. Rolling on South Carolina's rivers, inland towns experience a surge in buyer interest, particularly from families. How to raise kids who won't be racist. Research shows that talking openly about race makes children more empathetic and raise their self-esteem. Parents should explicitly challenge this wrong assumption and explain the role of centuries of systemic racism in creating these inequities. How big spending got its groove back. There has been a huge change in what's considered politically feasible. U.S. student debt relief versus the scaremongers. No, helping former students won't cause inflation to explode. But you may argue students, borrowers, weren't struggling to cope with the pandemic. I got a B minus on that grammar essay. The idea of hypercorrection struck a chord, ending a sentence with a preposition, not so much. A lot of us can relate to it. Vote no on California's recall. The stated recall process is badly broken. How NYC can bounce back again. Suggestions for the next mayor to build a better, safer city after the pandemic. The post is urgent, improving vital services New Yorkers rely on every day, including policing, transportation, sanitation, and education. A family road to recovery. To understand the implications of America's withdrawal from Afghanistan, look to the history. Is there a nuclear option for stopping climate change? Once the